Hello friends, welcome back to another week of dinners video. If you are new here, welcome. I'm jumping right into our first meal, which is garlic ginger ribs. I used to make this recipe when my oldest two were little tiny babies, and I've made it a couple of times over the years, but I have not made this actual recipe in probably 5 years now. So it has been a long time since I have made this, but every time I've ever made it, it has always been a huge hit. My favorite part about this recipe is it is so easy and can be thrown into the crock pot. I know a lot of ribs aren't done that way. You can definitely put this sauce on top of it and let it cook slowly in the oven, or you can put it on a smoker. I have always just done it in the crock pot because the original recipe that I followed, that's where they had it. And like I said, I've been making it for so long. I was very, very young when I first started making this recipe, and I wasn't such an expert at cooking. I haven't, over the years of having kids and a husband and a family, you get a ton of experience from cooking every single night. And at this point, I was a fresh adult. I had a new baby boy, and I was looking for very easy meals to make, and this was one of them. So it is in the crock pot, but you do not have to do it in the crock pot. If you're wanting to do it in the oven, like I said, you can absolutely do it that way. We're starting out by making the sauce for the ribs that they'll cook in. My daughter is helping me. She's grating the ginger for me, and I just used some garlic. You can use garlic cloves, probably garlic powder too, but the recipe that I was able to find, I searched for days for this recipe. It kind of came out of nowhere. My husband randomly was like, hey, you should make that again. We haven't had that in so long. And so I don't know where I actually put the original recipe. The one that I found did not include ginger. And so I was like, oh, I don't remember how much I'm supposed to use, but I remember the ginger flavor being such an incredible flavor with this meal. So I knew I wanted to continue to use it. These were the ribs that I used. It's always pork ribs. I'm sure you could use beef ribs, but I have never done that before. So I got 1 pack of these, and I did cut them up. If you're putting them in the oven, you probably can just do the entire rack on the baking sheet, but I cut them up so it's a lot easier, and I'm able to kind of evenly spread it and put it in the crock pot. But the sauce is ginger and garlic, some brown sugar, some soy sauce. It was kind of a mixture of things. And then you'll just pour it right on top. If you're wondering, all the recipes will be down below in the description box. If you would like to follow any of these, try any of these for yourself, you can find them there. This was about halfway through. I wanted to check them and kind of rotate them, get them all cooking in the sauce. So I was doing that, just kind of rotating, getting all the flavors in on all of it, making sure it all cooked pretty evenly. Something about barbecue and ribs just screams summer, so I wanted to make a potato that I grew up with. I don't know if my mom originally started these or if she got it from anyone, but I have been making these my entire life. They are just cubed potatoes, and then you cook them with butter that you cube, a bunch of garlic, and a little sprinkle of salt, and you kind of roast these in the oven lower and slow, and they're incredible. They're so simple, but the amount of compliments that I always get on these potatoes is a ton. I It's shocking almost how many people love these potatoes and how simple they are, and yet no one ever seems to make them. So I wanted to make them. They are kind of the perfect recipe, the perfect potato that you would bring to like a cookout or, some type of summer event. That's what these potatoes always remind me of, probably because my mom always made them in the summertime. But yeah, so I'm making these with the ribs tonight because I just felt like it complemented the dish so incredibly well. And like any great recipe, there's really not actual ingredients. It all's just measured with your heart. So I dice up enough potatoes to fill a casserole dish, and then I get a stick of butter and I cube it up really good and I kind of mix it in with the potatoes. And then I will throw in a bunch of garlic and salt and mix it up really, really well, and then throw it in the oven. I like to do these with a sheet of foil on top at first, and then once they're cooked through, I'll take the foil off and kind of let it get a little crunchier on top. But these potatoes are so simple and they pack a huge punch. I definitely suggest trying these. Here's how dinner turned out. I served it with some steamed green beans, and it was the perfect meal for the warm weather that has kind of been around recently in our area. It felt like we were hosting a backyard barbecue. It was perfect. For our next meal, I am doing some Greek chicken and I'm going to make them into like gyros. So I do this quite a bit on my channel. It is a family favorite of ours, and it just is kind of an easy go-to for me because all of my kids like it, our entire family likes it, and it's just something that they have a good time with because they can all kind of make their own gyro, and it's just, it's like taco night, but it's a little kind of a twist on that. Tonight was also a perfect night to fire up the grill. My husband, any chance he gets to do that, he will. So we are going to get these on the grill, and I'm also going to I'm not going to show it on camera because I've done it so many times, but the copycat version of the Popeyes chicken. I'm obsessed with it. My husband's now obsessed with it, and it's our go-to thing. If you're trying to lose weight, it is a really great chicken to eat. And I don't know, there's some viral lady on like all of my socials, and she eats this chicken all the time. She lost like 250 pounds, and that was one of the things that she ate. And it is so, so good. So I'm kind of seasoning this chicken. This is like the Greek style chicken. I'm seasoning it with all kinds of seasonings like garlic, onion, paprika. I think there was a little bit of cumin, salt, pepper, and I'm going to go in and also put in some fresh dill. And then there's lemon, like you can see, a little bit of olive oil. And we'll kind of let that just marinate in the fridge for a couple of hours before we throw it on the grill. And then we'll also throw on our Popeyes chicken. The Popeyes chicken was definitely a lot spicier. It's like a blackened chicken, and it does have cayenne in it, which makes it pretty spicy. So I tend to make it whenever we're going to put something on the grill, and I put it aside for just me and my husband. Sometimes my oldest son and daughter, they'll eat it too, but it is pretty spicy. You kind of have to measure the cayenne and see how much you actually want. And it can be a little spicy for younger kids especially. So we usually just put that aside for us, and I tend to eat that a lot for lunch, just plain. Um, but it is a really great option. You can find that on a ton of my other videos because I make it quite often. I like to have it throughout the week, and my husband, he does too. So that is that. You can find it on other videos. I can probably link it down below too. While that is marinating in the fridge, I am going to start some rice. This is just the rice I usually make. Um, Before I was making more of a like a Chinese fried rice where sometimes it would have like bits of chicken in it and vegetables. I have not done that in quite a while. Just because, I mean, it's a really, really great fried rice. It's probably one of the better ones I've had. But this has been my kids' favorite recently with the chunks of potato. I did use some curry powder this time, and this Cajun seasoning that we got from the store that has been kind of a mixture that has worked really well. My kids really enjoy. My daughter in particular, I added the curry powder, and she asked me after, she's like, "What did you put in it? It was so good." This was like, she really likes Indian food, and so it gives it that Indian food flavor without really like, it's not overwhelming. It's just kind of subtle. So this is how I have been making rice here recently, just because it has been such a huge hit. And especially with kids, you never really know. It seems like they'll eat something and it'll be like their favorite food for a while, and then they kind of get sick of it, and then they like won't eat it for the longest time. So I think that's kind of what I'm doing. I made the switch, and so they're just eating this rice up, and soon enough they'll probably want to switch to something else. So right now I am making a tzatziki sauce. I put in just a little bit of plain yogurt, some sour cream, lemons, and olive oil, pepper, garlic, and I chopped up some more dill to put in. This is something that I kind of just make off. I don't know if this is a real recipe. I just kind of throw it together every time we're having something like this. And it is definitely measured with my heart. So if you're also wanting to make this, those are basic ingredients to add into it. That's usually what I use. I do not measure it in any way, and you kind of just have to taste to get to that point that you're wanting it to be at. If you're wanting more liquid, you can add in probably a little bit of water or some more olive oil, but I just measure with my heart, and I kind of mix things together until it ends up tasting how I want it to taste. I am making that cucumber, tomato, and onion salad because this is the perfect thing to have on top of a gyro. My kids also love eating it on top of the rice, so that is what I'm doing. It's kind of been a go-to thing. If you watch my channel, I make this probably every single week. It is such a huge hit in my house. And also, with everything being so crazy, every single week we have sports and we're wrapping up our schooling for the year, and there's so many events. My kids have some major projects coming up, so easy is the name of the game here recently. We're just trying to push through and get to summer where everything kind of slows down a little bit for us. But this salad it's yet another one of those really easy things. It's kind of mindless at this point. It's just chopped tomatoes, cucumbers, onions. I usually use red onion. I did not have any, so I just used some, I think it was yellow onion, and threw that in. It marinates in some balsamic, some olive oil, some red wine vinegar, a tiny bit of salt. You can add garlic if you want. You mix that up and put that in the fridge until you're ready to eat it. The rice is steamed at this point for about 15 minutes, which is usually when I like to go in and kind of toss it around, fluff it up a little bit, and then I'll put the lid usually back on and cook it a little longer. Sometimes if like everything's pretty much done, I'll actually just turn off the heat, put the lid back on, and kind of let it continue just slightly. So that's what I'm doing there. And now I am going to make some naan bread. This is actually my tortilla recipe, and I don't know if they are really ever the same. I don't know if they use the same ingredients because I have always just done it this way. And if you don't roll them out super thin like a tortilla, they end up being really fluffy and exactly like a naan bread. You can add garlic to it if you're wanting to give it a little bit of flavor. My kids like these just plain, so that's how I'm going to do them. But again, very easy ingredients, very few ingredients. Usually my daughter will actually put these together for me and then I'll roll them out. She doesn't care to roll out the dough very much, but I usually will do that. I'm kind of forming them into a log and then I'm going to cut them somewhat evenly. I'm not perfect about any of that kind of thing. I think that is the beauty of cooking, is not having it perfect, having it slightly different every time. And I just love that about cooking. So, and that's probably why I'm not the greatest of bakers because you do have to be pretty perfect about your measurements and stuff. And I'm not as great about it. I am getting so much better, which is nice, but yeah, I'm so much better of a cook than I am a baker. I'm rolling out them, and again, there's nothing perfect about it, and you can leave like little bubbles in it. You can have thicker parts, and I'm throwing them into a really, really hot cast iron pan with a little bit of butter or olive oil, and then within seconds, you flip them and they're done. They take hardly any time. They cook super quick, sorry. And that is the easiest way on a cast iron that I have found. I've actually ruined pans doing them in nonstick pans. So highly suggest if you have a cast iron doing it that way. My husband is going to throw the chicken on the grill now that I have pretty much everything else set aside and ready. The chicken has been marinating for a couple of hours and it was so delicious. This is how dinner turned out. I did cut up some lettuce and olives. I sprinkled some feta on top, and they were seriously, this is such a go-to, but it is so delicious. So this has been one of our regular things to have each week. And speaking of summer, this next meal is something that I make all summer long. My aunt actually, since I moved here, she has been obsessed with this, her and her fiance. And so every summer they'll ask me to make it. As soon as the weather starts warming up, she'll be like, oh, that actually sounds really good. Do you think you can make us some? And so this is ceviche. This is shrimp ceviche. And I learned this from a friend back in the Chicago area, and I've been making it ever since. I like eating this just plain, like on a spoon. I like eating it with avocado chunks. I'm not sure how my aunt eats it. I know that she likes to put it over scrambled eggs in the morning, but I don't know if she eats it with chips or how she does it. My friend always served it with crackers, and my husband always eats this with tortilla chips. So it seems pretty versatile and you can kind of do whatever you want with it, but this is my go-to when I'm on a diet, which is another reason why I made this. I have been doing so good lately. I'm so excited. I have really stuck to doing healthier meals. If you're wondering what I'm doing right now while I'm kind of off on a tangent here, um, I get the already cooked deveined shrimp, and I usually will get like the medium size. That's the size that I like to do. My aunt, she likes the shrimp in smaller chunks. So, and I'm making a double batch right here. So I'm kind of chopping up most of them into smaller chunks. It's really just the medium shrimp that I chopped in half. And then I'm going to I also did a couple larger ones too. She just likes them in smaller chunks and says that she usually cuts them up after I give her the ceviche. And I was just kind of doing her a solid and cutting them up before I gave it to her. So I did do 2 large bags of the shrimp because I'm making a batch for us and I'm making a batch for them at their house. And this is where my onion had went. I had only bought, I think, 1 or 2 of my red onions, and I ended up making so much of this that I used all of my red onions in this and didn't have it for my other recipes. But anyway, I love this meal. It has like mostly vegetables and shrimp, and then it's seasoned with lime juice, and you can add a little bit of salt. I don't know if other people add other seasonings. I do not, and that's why I tend to go back to this always whenever I'm trying to lose weight. And this was actually, I have to already make this again because even though it was a huge batch, we're basically out of it. My kids and my husband and I, we ate through our whole batch, and then we gave my aunt her half, and I'm already at the point where I need to make more to kind of continue. Like I said, I like eating this with avocado chunks, and it feels so fresh, and it is so healthy. So I have been doing so well keeping to those things. Whenever I made the gyro, I did not do the pita. I ate the chicken and the vegetables and, that kind of stuff. I'm limiting the rice, and I am so proud. I've been doing so well the last few weeks, and I'm just wanting to keep that momentum going. And this is the perfect meal to do that with. So as you've seen, you can put the shrimp in. You can buy different sizes if you're wanting. Like I said, I kind of chopped it up for her. And then I am going to be separating it here in a second. But whenever I go to put in the jalapeno, because she does not like it spicy and my family does. So you'll add in the shrimp, and then you kind of go through and just dice up all of the vegetables. You'll use cucumbers. I did 2 full cucumbers because there's 2 batches. If you're just making 1 batch, it will be 1 cucumber. You can take the peel off if you want, or you can just leave it on. I kind of do both to where there's some added crunchiness and then some that aren't. You'll do a bunch of tomatoes on the vine. There's onions and what am I missing? The jalapenos. And whenever I do those, I'll do hers, and then where I'll take out the seeds, I wash them and then I dice them. Ours, I'll take out some of the seeds and then dice them. And then you'll squeeze, I usually do about 6 limes, the juice of all 6 limes in here, and you toss it around, and then you'll let it marinate. And the more that it's in the fridge marinating in that lime juice, it makes such an incredible flavor. So, cilantro, that's what I was missing. So I did a whole bunch of cilantro. I think I did the whole thing and chopped it up really, really good and threw that in. I'm not sure if this is a true thing, but I've seen a ton of people like kind of rolling the limes and putting a little bit of weight into it when you're rolling them to kind of release the juices. I don't know if that's real or not. If you know for sure, let me know down below. I feel like it helped, but I also always have such a hard time with the getting the juice out of the limes and lemons and oranges. So my husband, it's funny, I was watching this back and I'm like, oh, you see my hands? And then all of a sudden you see my husband's hands. And I'm just like, oh, it's kind of a funny little transition there. But yeah, he comes in from work and I immediately put him to work squeezing the limes in this. Someone remind me that I need to get one of those. Probably they're only $1 at Walmart. I just always forget to get them, those little juicers for this. That would be perfect and it would make this task so much easier for me, but I always forget to do it. So someone remind me for next time that I need to buy a juicer.
You've been lost and alone in the city lights, I know. Getting high, feeling low, and it's out of your control. You should know that I won't leave you. I'll stay beside you. I'm never letting you go. You've been lost and alone in the city lights, I know. But I will guide you home.
I really did not at all notice my husband was doing that until like it went all through editing and everything until right this moment. I did not notice that my husband was kind of messing with the camera. And I think even at that moment, I knew that he was, and I was like telling myself like, oh, I'm going to have to edit that out. But clearly I did not see it until right this moment. But he collects pocket knives, and he is like one of those guys who just like, he'll watch videos upon videos of all the new things, and I don't understand it at all, but he knows all kinds of, different pocket knife materials, and I don't even know how many he has at this point, but he's always, trying to get new ones, and I don't know, it's like his thing. So anyway, he had just gotten that one, and he was apparently teasing me, and showing it off. So that was that, and I did not realize that was even in here. Okay, so like I said, my aunt does not like it spicier, and my family does. So I am separating them now. I have everything in there at this point except for the jalapenos with the seeds. So I'm separating them, evening them out, and kind of putting them in two different bowls. So then hers is done, and then ours is going to have the jalapenos with the seeds. And that is literally the only difference between the two of them. I'll go ahead and put the lid on it and have it marinate before we bring it over to her.
You've been lost and alone in the city lights, I know. Getting high, feeling low, and it's out of your control. You should know that I won't leave you. I'll stay beside you. I'm never letting you go. You've been lost and alone in the city lights, I know. But I will guide
So this next meal is more of a breakfast or a dessert. This is the first time I'm making it. This is, I believe they called it cheesecake. What did they call? Oh, cheesecake Danish is what they called it. And my family loves danishes. I have only made them like a handful of times, and this one just seems so easy. So what I'm doing is I'm carving out like a little hole in each one of these Hawaiian rolls, and that was kind of where the problem lied. They ended up being really, really good. I highly recommend these, but I took out too much of the breading and made kind of deeper holes that you end up putting like a cheesecake filling in, and there was just too much filling for my liking. So if you like a ton of cheesecake filling, then, go for it. Scoop these out pretty deep and that will be your jam. But for us, we did not really like that much filling. So, and they didn't do that really in the recipe that I was following either. It was just me not being able to follow directions and then regretting it. So, like I said, they were super good and I will definitely be making these again, but just probably scooping out like half of each roll and doing it that way. I feel like that will be a lot tastier for my family at least. I'm making a butter mixture that I'm going to brush over top and like in each hole. It kind of makes a really good glaze on these, and it was super tasty. So you just melt the butter, put in a bit of cinnamon, a little bit of vanilla, and I want to say that was it, but the recipe will be down below just in case I'm wrong. I melted that and I put that, like I said, I brushed it all over each of the rolls and then in the holes that we kind of dug too. And then you'll bake that for really not a lot of time. I mean, it was like a couple minutes. I already had the oven going because I was making pizza at the same time for my son's birthday. And it ended up surprising me how little time you needed. So I put those into the oven and I started making the glaze that's going to go over top of each of these. During this process, it wasn't supposed to rain, it wasn't supposed to storm, and then all of a sudden it started, and then the power goes out, and that's actually whenever I went to go take the buns out of the oven and noticed that they were actually done a lot sooner than I expected them to be. So this is just a normal glaze with the powdered sugar, vanilla, and a little bit of milk. You mix it up, and that's that. It's the most basic one you can find, but it was super tasty and it really fit well with these danishes. Yeah, I keep forgetting what they're called. So as you can see, our power is now officially out. So I took the buns out and this is how they looked. It was like perfect timing. It was almost like a little alarm. So they came out beautifully, and I put in this cheesecake mixture. I found it at Walmart, like over by the cream cheese. And it said you needed half of one of these tubs, but I would, if you're only doing like half of the bun, I don't think you even need that. So you can use, for whatever else you wanted, but you kind of just smear a spoonful into each of the buns, and then you'll put the glaze over top and just kind of let it cool down like that. It did say to wait, but the mixture that I'm putting in was cold. It was in the fridge. And I felt like it would be better if it was more of at room temperature, like a Danish. And so I did put them into the buns when they were pretty fresh out of the oven. And then I put the glaze over top. So again, I did not listen, but I feel like it did end up better that way. If you're wanting it cold, then you can obviously let them cool down a little bit but I did not, and it was just fine. It was perfect for us. And this is how they turned out. It makes the perfect, quick breakfast, or we had it for dessert. So it is super simple, and I never really thought of that, but it did taste just like a cheese Danish. Okay, so this is the last recipe. I am redoing the square school pizzas. I made them previously in another video, and the dough for them ended up being giant. So I wanted to make it a little different this time now that I have done my experimenting and figuring out exactly how it works. So I was making these last two recipes kind of at the same time. I would let the dough rise, and then I would go and work on the cheese danishes. And so the power did end up going out during this one too. And the video for this is really lacking, so I do apologize. But during this time, it was we didn't know how long the power was going to go out, and this was what my 5-year-old had chose for his birthday dinner. So I was kind of like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do if the power doesn't come back on for a while? We're going to have to go into town or, figure something out last minute. And when it's your kid's birthday, you just want to do, what they want best. And so I was it was a little chaotic at this point, and I was trying to figure it out. And at the very last minute, right before we were about to go into town, the power came back on. So it did end up working out. We had kind of a late dinner, but that is kind of why the video is not showing everything, because we were at this point trying to figure everything out, is it going to work? Is it not? Are we going to have to go do something else? But it did end up working out. So I got the dough smashed into these pans, and at first the dough is pretty hard to work with. And then, I don't know, once you knead it quite a bit, it becomes a lot easier. So I have it in this really big pan, and I kind of smashed it up the sides to create a crust. And then I'm spreading a good amount of sauce on, and then you can put whatever toppings you're wanting. The recipe does say that cheddar makes it more authentic for the school lunches. If you don't know what I'm talking about, a couple weeks ago, I went on this mission to find out, the classic square pizza lunches that you would get at like public schools. Well, I just, was so nostalgic, and I wanted to try it out, and it was very good, but the dough that I used was huge. So I made adjustments, and this is now the recipe after making those adjustments. So that is what I'm doing, and I did add the cheddar, and then I did add mozzarella. My 5-year-old, his favorite pizza is bacon pizza, so I had bacon going in the oven now, and I'll chop that up, put that on, a little bit of Italian seasoning, and that is literally all you need. I personally like a lot of vegetables on mine, but this pizza is for a 5-year-old, and he does not like all those things, so I did not put those on. But you definitely could if you wanted to, and this pizza definitely hits the spot if you're wanting that nostalgic public school Fridays with the square pizza lunch. That is what you'll get with this. Anyway, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope you enjoy some of these meals that we've made. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.